Ever catch yourself thinking like, what if I lived a totally different life?
Oh, yeah.
Like way back in time, like all that royal court stuff.
Sure.
Well, today we're diving deep into Tudor England
Okay.
with Catherine Parr.
Right.
She was the one who not only caught the eye of Henry VIII,
Right.
but she also outlived him.
It's a story that never gets old.
It really doesn't.
People have been fascinated by this for centuries.
Yeah.
And when you really dig in,
Yeah.
you see why.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Catherine, she wasn't just another pretty face.
Right.
She was really intelligent and so resilient.
Yeah.
And ambitious, too.
Yeah.
I mean, she had to be to navigate that world.
Oh, totally.
One wrong step.
Yeah.
And that was it.
It really is an amazing story.
It is.
And we're not just talking about her time as queen either.
Right.
We're talking about her whole life.
Oh, wow.
Early marriages.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the story of her first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Then you have her love of learning.
Yes.
At a time when
Oh, yeah.
women's education was
Extremely limited. Very.
And later in life.
Right.
This mysterious discovery when her tomb was opened.
Centuries later.
Yeah.
That's right.
So many twists and turns.
Lots of them.
So
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask about this first marriage.
Oh, yeah.
It's a doozy, right?
It is.
What happened there?
Well, her sister was supposed to get married,
Okay.
but she passed away.
Oh, wow.
So they just had Catherine take her place.
Wait, they just swapped them out
Pretty much.
to avoid all the
Yeah.
dowry arrangement stuff?
Exactly.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
I mean, talk about pressure.
Seriously.
Like, can you even imagine being in that situation?
It makes you wonder if that contributed to her ability to adapt.
I was just thinking
You know,
that.
like later on,
Yeah.
in tougher situations.
Yeah, exactly.
She was resilient even back then, like when she was young.
Yeah.
Even with the limitations on women at the time. Right. He was so passionate about learning. Yeah. Fluent in multiple languages. Wow. Immersed in literature and religious texts. That love of learning, that was a defining characteristic of hers
Totally.
throughout her whole life.
I find it so interesting that early friendship with Princess Mary,
Yes.
Henry VIII's daughter.
Right.
I mean, they bonded over their intellectual interests,
They did.
never knowing
Right.
that their paths would cross again.
Yeah.
Under way more dramatic circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like real life historical drama unfolding
It is.
right before our eyes.
Absolutely.
Speaking of drama,
Oh.
we got to talk about Catherine's love life.
Of course.
Before she became queen,
Yeah.
she fell in love with this guy, Thomas Seymour.
Oh, yes.
Handsome, charismatic,
Uh-huh.
ambitious,
Very much so.
like
Yeah.
the Tudor heartthrob,
Right.
but maybe not the best judgment.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
He was always in the thick of things.
In court.
Yeah, all those schemes,
Yeah.
and a bit reckless too,
Okay.
but they did genuinely love each other.
Okay.
And they had this
Yeah.
deep intellectual connection.
Mm.
But as their romance was blossoming,
Yeah.
fate intervened.
Henry VIII.
Exactly.
Larger than life.
Oh, yeah.
Insatiable appetite for love.
Of course.
And a crown.
Right there.
What a dilemma.
It really was.
True love, intellectual passion, versus the crown of England.
Power.
Wow.
Yeah. Shaping the future of a nation.
It's a choice most of us will never face.
I know.
Thank
God.
goodness.
And let's not forget the danger
Yes.
being Henry VIII's wife.
Right.
I mean, Catherine knew what happened to some of the others.
Absolutely.
Marrying him was a huge gamble.
It was.
So she chooses to marry Henry,
She did.
knowing the risks.
She was very intelligent
Yeah.
and strategic. She weighed everything carefully
Mm.
and decided to accept his proposal.
Knowing it wouldn't be easy.
Oh, no, not at all.
So she becomes Queen Catherine,
She does.
and she excels.
She does.
Handles the complexities of court life.
Uh-huh.
She dazzles everyone with her wit
Yes.
and her charm.
And when Henry's away fighting wars,
yeah,
she's regent.
showing everyone what a leader she is.
That's...
She was a woman who could handle anything.
Oh, she really was.
She had this incredible intelligence, grace,
Yes.
political skills.
So good at maneuvering in that court.
Oh, yeah.
And she knew how to handle Henry.
Oh, yeah.
And that temper of his,
That's right.
her time as regent proves it.
Yeah.
Rebellions,
Yeah.
plague outbreaks,
You handled it all.
crises.
Yeah.
She was so efficient
Yeah.
and calm.
And then on top of it all, she publishes a book
She does.
under her own name.
The first queen in England to do so.
Groundbreaking.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
when women were so limited.
And this wasn't just any book.
No.
This was prayers or meditations,
Right.
dealing with all these complex theological topics,
Reflecting her Protestant faith.
which, as we know,
Yeah.
becomes a source of
Right.
both strength and danger for her.
Absolutely.
Because it wasn't just the social and political stuff. There
Yeah.
was also the Reformation.
Oh, yes.
Huge religious tension.
Huge.
Henry breaks with the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
but his commitment to Protestantism,
Mm.
a little shaky at times.
Yes.
Catherine, on the other hand,
Mm.
devout Protestant.
It put her at odds with the king.
It did.
More and more.
And then there's Anne Askew, this
Yeah.
Protestant woman.
Tortured for her faith.
It's a chilling story.
It is.
And they were trying to link Anne Askew to Catherine.
Desperately.
Yeah.
They wanted to use her as proof
Right.
of some big Protestant conspiracy.
They saw Catherine as a threat
They did it.
to Henry's religious authority
They thought she was rallying people.
against him.
Yeah, against his more moderate approach.
So you have Catherine, this incredibly capable woman.
Trying to balance everything.
Yeah.
Being queen.
Uh-huh.
Her own beliefs.
And all the suspicion around her.
It was a pressure cooker.
And then Henry signs an arrest warrant for her.
He does.
An arrest warrant.
For the queen.
I mean, that's a huge turn of events.
It is.
1 minute, she's the pinnacle of power.
Mm.
The next,
Yeah.
facing imprisonment.
Possibly even execution.
What a situation.
It was. I mean, it could have been the end for her right there.
Yeah.
But they underestimated her.
Hmm.
She understood Henry,
Yeah.
and she was strategic.
So what did she do?
Well,
Did she run?
no.
Did she fight back?
No, she went straight to Henry.
Oh, wow.
Right to him.
That's risky.
It was.
Like walking into the lion's den.
Yeah, but she knew she had to disarm him.
Mm.
She couldn't be defensive. She had to go to him.
As a devoted wife?
Yes.
Submissive?
Eager to learn.
From her oh-so-wise husband?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Did Henry buy it?
Amazingly.
Yeah.
He did.
He was not known for being easily fooled.
I know.
So he believed her.
He did.
He was flattered
totally
by her performance.
Yeah, and he dismissed all the accusations.
And showered her with affection
And gifts.
to reaffirm her position.
As his queen.
It's incredible
Yeah, I know.
how she turned that around.
It really shows her intelligence.
Yeah.
And how adaptable she was.
Yeah, she saved herself
Uh-huh.
and strengthened her position with Henry.
At the same time,
So smart.
she understood how power worked.
But even the best strategy
Right.
can't stop everything.
Yeah.
You're talking about Henry's health, right? He wasn't doing well.
No.
Everyone knew it.
It was obvious.
So even though Catherine had made it as queen,
Right, yeah.
she was still at the mercy of this king with his crazy temper.
Yeah, his moods could change just like that.
So when he died,
Yeah.
it must have been bittersweet.
I'm sure it would.
Relief.
Of course.
But also,
Yeah.
what now?
Exactly.
No king to protect her.
She was on her own again.
In a world where women had very little power.
That's right.
But at least she could marry Thomas.
Finally.
After all that time.
They'd waited so long.
I bet it was joyous,
I'm sure.
passionate.
They got married right away.
It was her chance for happiness.
It was.
But, like
Yeah.
Thomas wasn't perfect.
Far from it.
His ambition and that bad judgment.
It came back to haunt them.
It's the dark part of the story, isn't it?
It is.
It involves Elizabeth, right?
It does.
The princess.
Yes.
So Thomas, even before marrying Catherine,
Yeah.
he was interested in Elizabeth. Inappropriately.
Very much so.
He was making advances.
He was.
She was just a teenager.
It's awful.
It is
It really shows his true character.
taking advantage of her.
Yeah. He was in a position of power.
And he abused it.
He did.
So what did Catherine do?
When she found out,
Yeah.
it was a tough spot.
Yeah.
Her husband.
Or her stepdaughter.
It must have been so hard.
I know.
But she made a choice.
What did she do?
She sent Elizabeth away.
Wow.
She knew Elizabeth wasn't safe.
Under Thomas's roof?
No.
Heartbreaking.
It really is.
Giving up her own happiness
To protect Elizabeth.
from her own husband.
Yeah.
And it gets worse,
It does.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Soon after Elizabeth left,
Yeah.
Catherine got pregnant.
Oh, wow.
She'd always wanted to be a mother,
Right.
but the pregnancy was difficult.
Oh, no.
And she died.
Shortly after giving birth.
Yes, to a daughter.
What a sad ending.
It is.
After all she had been through.
Surviving Henry.
And the
Yeah.
poor.
Her beliefs.
And then finding love.
Only to be taken so soon.
It shows you that life is fragile,
And
even for a queen.
even for a queen.
But the story doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
You said something about a mystery.
I did.
And her tomb.
200 years later.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Catherine was buried in Sedley Chapel.
Okay.
And over time, it fell apart.
Oh, wow.
And then in the late 1700s, some people decided to explore the crypt.
Underneath it.
The ruined chapel.
Like adventurers stumbling on a piece of history.
Yeah, exactly.
What did they find?
Well, they opened Catherine's coffin.
Mm-hmm.
It was lead.
Okay.
And it had been airtight.
For 200 years.
More than that, her body was perfectly preserved.
No way.
Her skin was still white. Her hair was there.
And her clothes.
They still had some color.
It's like she was asleep, not dead for centuries.
Those people who opened it, they were so shocked, they just closed it right back up. But
air got in. And when they looked again, years later.
It was too late.
No.
Only her skeleton was left.
Oh.
But there's one more thing.
Okay.
They found an ivy plant.
In the coffin?
Yeah, it had grown inside.
Whoa.
And wrapped around her skull.
Like a crown.
Exactly.
That's kind of creepy.
It is a little bit.
But beautiful, too.
Yeah.
Like nature was honoring her.
Crowning her again.
This time with time.
Yeah.
It's a fitting image for Catherine Parr.
It is.
The queen who survived.
Intelligent, determined.
She's a symbol of resilience.
Yes.
The ivy crown.
Yeah.
So poetic.
It is.
It really captures her journey.
Doesn't it?
From pawn to queen.
From Henry VIII.
To Thomas Seymour.
Quite a life.
It is.
Remarkable.
And in a way, relatable.
Oh, yeah.
We think of Henry's wives.
Right.
And it's usually tragedy.
Yeah.
But Catherine shows us that women back then, they could make a difference.
They could.
Catherine wasn't just surviving.
No, she was thriving.
She used her intelligence, her charm, her faith.
To make her way in that world.
A world that tried to hold her back.
At every turn.
She was a queen who advocated for education.
Yes.
For religious freedom.
Even challenging the king.
And a published author.
In those times.
Can you imagine?
Amazing prayers or meditations.
It gives us a window into her mind.
Her intellect.
Her faith.
Such a brave thing to do.
Publishing it.
Under her own name.
Makes you wonder what else she could have done with more time. What if she had been regent?
For Edward.
Like she wanted, would she have changed things?
Some people think so.
Religious reform.
Right.
But others say she would have had too many enemies.
Those who clung to the old ways.
It's fascinating.
It is.
Think about. But no matter what, she made her mark on history.
She did.
She reminds us that we always have choices.
Yes.
Even when it seems like we don't.
You don't have to be passive.
Or we can fight back.
We can find a way to be strategic.
Our story still matters.
Centuries later.
Because it's about making a difference.
Yeah.
Leaving something meaningful behind.
Exactly.
Your legacy inspires us.
To be bold.
To be resilient.
And to never underestimate the power of a woman.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Catherine Parr's life, what stands out to you most?
What will you take away?
I think for me, it's that strength can come from unexpected places.
That's right.
And even in the toughest times.
The worst times we can endure.
And even thrive.
Well said.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
What did you think of Catherine's story?
Tell us on social media. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe.
To the deep dive.
That way you won't miss our next exploration.
We're always digging up
fascinating
stories.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep diving deep.
Into the stories that shape our world.
Thanks for joining us.